SGC here, and we're back for a movie review.
Your only job was to avoid intrusions. This is your last chance.
Okay, Hector. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Charge, spies!
Spycies. So this is a Chinese-French collaboration. This originally came out in France back in 2019 June in the Annecy International Animation Film Festival, and then it came out in the Shanghai International Film Festival of the same month. And then in China, it came out January of 2020, and February 28th is when the Blu-ray and DVD comes out. So this is directed by Guillaume Ivernel, and it's also created by Zhang Zhiyi, the woman from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it stars people I don't know. But yeah, basically, what's it about? It's about two secret agents, and one's the crazy James Bond, and the other is Q. And basically, they have to figure out a top secret thing happened, and they have to figure out who did it. And that's basically the entire film. So what did I think? Well, first off, if you watch the trailer, it says, from the animators of Despicable Me, Minions, and A Secret Life of Pets. They can't even name the studio, so that's interesting. So it's French production, Chinese money. So let's get with the bad. This is definitely one of those Zootopia type things where it did well and now let's put out our own thing. And I think if you get over that hump, it's okay. I mean, granted, if you watch like what I did, I watched Spycies and then Spies in Disguise with Blue Sky Studio, and it's totally different in terms of like detail quality. First off, if you have the two side by side, the lighting is very awkward and off in Spycies, but the actual concept itself is very reminiscent of Despicable Me's sort of gadgetry and machinery. I definitely give it props for that they carried it over, and like the bikes and just everything was pretty cool. I mean, granted, if you see it in the lens of like how in America, it's very hard to accept this, and it just feels more like a Zootopia knockoff. But granted, Zootopia 2, where it's at Disney. So there's that. The voice acting, it's kind of campy. Line delivery, it's campy. The storyline is very overdone. Sort of like, polar opposites for partners, and they somehow work it out and they're best friends for life type of vibe. I mean, that's the same thing in Spies in Disguise. So it's a trope that's been overdone. But I definitely say that it's in the details that's kind of nice. I mean, granted, this happens, I'm assuming, in China, because there's a lot of Chinese everywhere. They literally said yuan, the Chinese money. So there's that. The storyline is like take it or leave it type of thing. It has this charm. That's kind of stretching it. I mean, if you read the IMDb comments, everyone hates this show. But I would say, hey, for a Chinese company, this is much better than what they put out normally. And in terms of narrative, it's like typical of what Americans put out anyways. Like comparing it to Zootopia is kind of a mute point, because Zootopia is like Zootopia peoples, and then you have like all the other random stuff that shows up throughout the year. So is it even a good comparison? I don't think so. I mean, it's reminiscent of Zootopia because it's just animals. Everyone's an animal, and one thing I sort of like about it is that they're much more the same size, I guess. Because like in Zootopia, elephants were elephant size in comparison to everybody, and then it just didn't work out that way. I mean, granted, I have seen Onward, and I actually enjoyed this more than Onward. This was sort of rich in terms of like the potential that could have happened with it. I mean, granted, they didn't use most of it, but I think the little things got me. I think the QR code with the bike share, that's hilarious. in terms of just like, wow, they actually made it into the film. The snake becoming a dragon, being an animal, it's totally a Chinese thing, because dragons are not mythical creatures, they're just animals in the Chinese lore in terms of the whole, you know, horoscope, Chinese zodiac, I mean. And yeah, so that was nice. And I think it's just your generic tropes of just, oh, bad guys like this, twist, twist, twist. And I think like it does try to get heavy-handed in terms of like teaching kids morals in terms of climate change and genocide at the same time. I mean, that was kind of like an iffy thing. And then I guess there's cross, you know, species love. I think that's also interesting. And I think it's the little things that I enjoyed, like the animation in terms of just like them sort of, what's the technical term, clearing out a room. That was nice. The armory, the gadgets. But like, you know, it does feel flat at times in terms of the fur, even though they have a fur supervisor. Like the fur doesn't really move, so it's just very static and it's just there. And some of the stuff could be more, but again, it's like when you watch this, it's like it should be through a very forgiving lens, because it is China, and China productions tend to be, you know, you can't really compare it with the West in terms of animation. And yeah, I mean, like even in Japan, it's like animated, and when it gets 3D, it gets kind of like awkward and weird. And the West has totally sort of, you know, ruled that 3D realm, whereas, you know, Japan is like anime, 2D, that's where it's at. So I do wonder if there was like a 2D Chinese cartoon animation film. Like, do suggest it down below. So overall, I mean, watch this forgivingly and you can get over it. It's an hour and a half. The tropes are done, stories are done, nothing new is brought to the table. But, like I was saying, the animals, I give it total props in terms of like the smaller details. Like when you're rolling a rhino on a hospital bed, it's like on tank treads because it's so heavy. Or how there's just more animal jokes. And it's interesting that way. And I definitely give it a heads up in terms of like a definite thumbs up comparative to Onward for not taking advantage of the whole mythical, magical realm. And it's just like they just slapped a elf skin on a human story. Whereas this one had its like human aspects because they're just human animorphs, animatronics, I don't know, but like humans, animals, but yet they have like those little details of actually, hey, these are animals. Like there's one sequence of a receptionist being a spider taking all these calls, and then someone like fainted or something, she like slaps him like crazy, or like howling wolves, or fireflies. Those are nice touches, I would say, and I give it props. I mean, granted, am I really like trying to defend this? No, I don't really care to defend it, but it was just like, hey, the trailer was pretty bad, but the actual product was not total garbage. Like if you go to IMDb, it's like it was like 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 10 or whatever, and it's just like, wow, don't give it a chance. Like you gotta be dumb to really enjoy this or something. It's just like you turn it off and you don't really think about it. It's just like a lot of generic cartoons that are out, and yeah. That's that. Talk too much already. So yeah, Spycies, like I guess if you do catch it on DVD Blu-ray, I don't know why, but you know, catch it, you know, shrug it off and just get your kid to watch it with you. If he's like into spies or just animals, I think he'll dig it in some sort of level. He or she, I mean. And there's that. So keep liking, keep watching, and subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. And that's it for this movie review for Spycies. Take care and stay healthy. Out.